Hey guys, what's up? My name is Karis. Welcome to Sunday Pilates. It's been a long ass time since we've done this. Last was in the total shithole I used to live in, where I used to do a lot of videos that probably only hurt my business. And it had to stop because of the psychological warfare my pets waged on me during those live videos. So now I actually have a space. Well, sometimes. Well, you get it. But it's live is bullshit. I don't want to fucking do live anymore. It's too much pressure. And whatever, you get it. Live streams are weird, and if shit happens, it's captured forever. Yeah, I'm not doing that shit. We are going to be focusing our attention on either a particular body part or issue, be it hip mobility, stuff like that. That's actually going to be the focus today, or even a movement, which is how I was doing it last time we did our Sunday Pilates classes. And it's really just to familiarize you with Pilates, and hopefully you will try it. Otherwise, I'm wasting my fucking time here. And you will see how it can benefit you, even if you have zero interest in doing it. Like, you're not going to become a Pilates instructor or some shit. So the props I'm using today, Pilates ring, hip circle is also what it's called. So, and a ball. This is a gorgeous ball from Yoga Tune-Up. It's my favorite one. I use it for a lot of different things. Yoga Tune-Up makes a lot of different balls that I would recommend checking out. But you can also get a cheap Pilates ball on Amazon. Yes, even though Amazon is the devil, you can get one for like $9. Okay, so let's start sitting at the top of your mat. Like I said, we're going to be focusing largely on hips. And when I say hip mobility, the important thing to remember is that Pilates is not yoga at all. It's like confused as that, and it's shittily instructed that way. But the premise behind Pilates is that it's muscle activation in order to not improve mobility, strength, all that shit. And it's also very strength-based, so it can be very, very challenging. There are some stretches involved in it, but I'm personally not a big fan of static stretching anyway. So don't expect mobility to mean that we're gonna sit here and stretch the living fuck out of your psoas for an hour, because first of all, I think that's dumb. Secondly, most people stretch like shit, just like they squat like shit and everything else. Sorry, it's true. And also, that bores me to fucking tears. Stretching, for me, causes a lot more harm than good. Even if it causes you to feel good in the moment, if you continuously stretch and the problem keeps coming back, that is a sign to me that the problem isn't that you're tight. The problem is that you're weak and your body is preventing you from moving in an effort to create stability. So where do we get stability from, or what is the key stabilizer? Well, obviously there's different stabilizers throughout your body, but the core, right? So pelvic lumbar stability, pelvic being your pelvis, lumbar being your lower back. So a lot of the things that people feel in their hips are really a byproduct of having core weakness. Core, very general term, but 360 degrees all the way around, plus here and here. I did a Fix Your Shitty movement on breathing. I have a bracing one coming up later this week. And I get into a lot of Pilates principles of those things, because it's really important to understand what you're trying to work or target when you're doing core specific training, and also what you're actually trying to fucking do when you're bracing and what that even means. So the way that I teach Pilates and the way that I incorporate it into my coaching is it's integrated. So it's not something that's just separate because it's all flowery and pretty and all that shit. It actually goes hand in hand with all of my strategies in helping you move better, feel better, look better, and be strong, and to avoid pain and injury as much as is possible. As much as is possible, because it's inevitable. Slip and fall on your ass, stub your toe, whatever. Like, injury happens and we're all dying slowly, so accept it. But the more resilient you can make yourself to injury, the better, and that's what I'm all about. So, hoping to make this a series, but if it pisses me off like it did last time, I'll stop. So standing at the top of your mat, you're going to start by looking at your feet. Imagine that. Your feet are parallel and they are about a fist distance apart. Why a fist? Because your sits bones in the center of each buttock are about a fist distance apart from one another, and alignment is important. So also, why are we looking at the feet, other than I'm constantly lecturing you guys about the feet? The pelvis is a fixed structure, right? It has things going into it, acting upon it. But for example, if your problem is your knees caving in the squat, it might just be bad habit. It's true that some glute weakness does play into that, but you could have the strongest glutes in the world. If your ankles are unstable, there it goes, right? Same thing goes for your knees. If your knees hurt, and like targeting and strengthening the knee, absolutely that's expensive, important. Expensive too if you fuck it up. But if your foot is unstable, that is at the end of the day going to have an effect all the way up the chain. The other thing that acts on the pelvis is, of course, the spine, right? And so that's where like core strength and all that shit comes in. So you can move your spine without affecting your pelvis, right? So I'm keeping my pelvis neutral. You cannot move your pelvis without affecting your spine. Meaning, if I go into a posterior tilt of my pelvis, it causes my lumbar spine to flex. If I go into an anterior tilt of my pelvis, it causes my lumbar spine to extend. And those are all things that are going to play on pain here, right? So if you're doing this all the time, right, it might not show up in your back. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it happens also with hip pain, but you're also crowding the fuck out of your hips, and you might not have hip pain. You might just have knee pain because you can't descend into a proper squat and you're shifted forward. So all of this stuff is important because there's just a fundamental misunderstanding of what Pilates is and why I do it, and that you probably fucking need it. In fact, I would venture to say that you definitely need it, because we all do. We all need something like this that's focused on breathing and focused on being able to manipulate and control the little guys. So, feet are parallel, about fist distance apart. You're pressing into the big toe, the pinky toe, and into the center of the heel. So I want you to feel that your knees are rotated forward. Well, that's in neutral, but most of us kind of hang out here, even if you have high arches like I do too. And then from there, you're just thinking about stacking the joints. So your earlobe is over your collarbone is over your hip bone over the knee over the ankle. So that's the way that you can think about alignment. I mentioned neutral pelvis, that's pubic bone and hip bones on the same vertical plane. So if your hands are like this, your hands should be flat. So hip bones forward of the pubic bone, anterior tilt, anterior to the pubic bone, neutral. And if your hip bones are behind your pubic bone, that's a posterior tilt of your pelvis. That's something I'm going to be cueing throughout as well. And I can't repeat it enough because nobody fucking knows any of that shit, which is fine. You have to learn it. I didn't just, come up with it. The thing is, you have to learn it, which is where people are like, oh, fuck, can I just go into a class and jump around like an asshole for an hour and say I worked out? I mean, you can, but let me know how it goes for you. So, breathing, which we talked about in that fix your shitty movement, which I urge you to watch. I think about breathing into my nose, down the back of my throat, all the way down my spine, into my tailbone, and finally into my pelvic floor. It takes some practice. We don't want the belly to push out, and we don't want the shoulders to rise. As you exhale, you're thinking about basically reversing that. So from the pelvic floor up, you're basically reinforcing that neutral pelvis position. Inhale again through the nose. Exhale, pulling your navel to your spine, just getting tighter and tighter and tighter here without losing that alignment that we established in the beginning. Arms are reaching down by your sides without doing the weird, I don't know if it's a yoga thing, but people do this kind of shit. Fucking relax your shoulders for the love of God. Inhale, and on your exhale this time, you'll nod your chin, and sequentially through the spine, you'll roll down. So this is also not like a forward fold. You're going to keep the weight mostly in your toes, and you're trying to keep your pelvis positioned in the same place. You're trying to round your spine over your pelvis. So your chest shouldn't be up against your thighs. If you have really flexible hamstrings, fucking good for you. That's meaningless here. Well, it's meaningful, but not in a good way. Let me just put it that way. And it's not about jerking off to your flexibility, because largely flexibility means not strong. So stop thinking that that's like some positive attribute. Inhale at the bottom, And exhale, scooping your abs and restack your spine. You'll notice I say sometimes. Obviously, a gymnast could kick my ass, a contortionist could kick my ass. You're super flexible. It's the right kind of flexible, not just gratuitous showing up to a yoga class once a week and putting your foot on your head. No one gives a shit. Well, dudes probably like it, but you know. Inhale and exhale, nod your chin, roll down, one vertebra at a time. So another way that you can visualize this is lowering yourself over a picket fence. Inhale and exhale. And I'm keeping my lats lightly engaged, so I'm not too tight, like I'm not holding a ton of tension, but at the same time I'm not just flopping over. And last time, you'll inhale and exhale, nod your chin. Let those knees soften. Make sure that the crown of your head is pointed towards the floor. Hold on to opposite elbows. Remember, your weight is mostly in your toes, so shift forward into the toes. And just try to let gravity take hold of your head. Arms come back down without hanging. And exhale, round back up. So we're gonna do a little foot series. You know, me and the fucking feet. But also, like I said, your hips. Balance, stability at the ankle. Really, really big component to really any kind of discomfort in the lower half at all, including your hips. Not always, but I mean, if I were to bet. So you're gonna put all of your weight into, start with the left foot. And you're gonna lift your right leg up into a 90-degree angle. And you're just gonna hang out there. If your balance sucks, let me put it that way, I would do this where you can lightly hold on to something. Even being closer to something can help facilitate better balance. So we want to try not to hike up the hip. We want to try to keep neutral pelvis as much as possible. And then you'll extend that right knee, lower the foot down, scrape the toes on the mat, point, lift, flex as you come through, so kind of like a bicycle motion, point, come through, flex foot, and again, point, come through, flex foot, pause at that 90-degree angle, and then you'll reverse, so point to go back, scrape your toes on the mat, try not to give yourself mat burn, which, don't ask me how I know. Scrape as you come through, flex the foot, point to reach back, and coming up, and set that foot down. So one side is generally always going to be more stable than the other. Focusing on a point on the wall or the floor or something like that is really helpful, but also just let yourself rest if you start losing your balance and try again, because thinking about trying to root your feet, grab the floor with your feet is really helpful here. That's what they're supposed to be doing anyway. Okay, so then right leg stays down and we bring the left leg up into that 90-degree angle. Again, just trying to feel that you're not hiked up on one side. Think of your pelvis like a bowl, and we want to keep the bowl level, not spill it in any direction. And then again, you'll extend the left knee this time, reach through, point, back to the 90 degrees, extend through the knee, point, flex, extend through the knee, point, coming back to that 90-degree angle at the hip and knee, and then reverse, point to go back, scrape the toes, come up into that 90 degrees, point, reach back, scrape the toes, one more time, point, reach back, scrape the toes up into that 90 degrees, hold it there, and then you set that foot down. You pedal out your feet. We'll do a roll down again, and then stay down on the mat this time. So inhale, and exhale, nod your chin and roll down. Now you might already find that you have a change in mobility. That's not an accident. So walk out into a plank, hold that plank position. So hands are directly underneath your shoulders, toes curled under. Make sure you're on your big toes, not rolled out to the side. So you can take a peek and make sure that your ankles are parallel to one another. You want to bias your pelvis into a posterior tilt, meaning not dump into your lower back. Think shoulder blades down your back. Hover the left leg up, point the toe. So make sure that your hips are still stable. Tap the toes down, lift from the hip. Down, hip extension. So this is challenging pelvic lumbar stability, meaning that we don't want to move the pelvis here or the spine. Set that foot down. Your pelvis doesn't mean your butt, so yeah, your butt's gonna move here. Point the toe, hold it there. Tap down, lift up. Since we're going into hip extension here, your glutes are a hip extender, so they're gonna flex, which is why they're gonna move. Try not to let your knee bend, and set that foot down, hold it there, make sure those triceps are engaged, lower the knees, flatten the feet, and sit back. And then sitting on your butt. So you're gonna start with the soles of your feet together. Soles of your feet. If you're like me, and this position, if you've ever done frog pumps, for example, kind of hurts your hips, it's likely that they're just kind of hanging in the joint. So it helps me to pull like my big toe and the balls of my feet together, and the inside of my heels to keep my pinky toes apart slightly, and that helps me stay engaged through my adductors and not just flop out to the side. If you feel, again, that tension in the hip, you can support your legs like this. Otherwise, you can hold on to your ankles, which is what I'm gonna do. Okay, so we're gonna start in a tall spine. So think about rolling the shoulders open, and you can use your hands, in fact you should, to help facilitate that long spine. Feeling your sits bones underneath you. Take that same inhale through the nose. Exhale again from the pelvic floor, tuck the tailbone under. So I'm trying to round maximally through my lumbar spine, not my upper back. Inhale, lean from the nose to come up tall, and again exhale from the pelvic floor, tuck the tailbone under, all the way. Obviously the whole spine is going to round because it's a series of joints. Inhale, tilt the nose up, and again exhale. You can let your hands slide back a little bit to get a little more range of motion. Inhale. And moving forward and restacking the spine. And again, sequentially through the spine. So not just leaning back, but trying to round. Inhale. And stack. And one more time. Inhale at the bottom this time, and exhale. Now there's all kinds of popping and cracking going on in my hips. Not in a bad way, just kind of noticing it. I squatted heavy yesterday, but not as a workout, let's put it that way. So yeah, my body's a little pissed off today. But again, the stronger you are, the more resilient you are to doing dumb shit like that. So it's a win. Grab the ball if you have it. If you don't, it doesn't fucking matter. I'm sure you can figure it out. So feet flat, parallel to one another. And we want the heels relatively close to your butt. So we want vertical shins if possible. If you're super flexible, don't bring your heels all the way to your butt. Again, no one gives a shit. So tap the back of your heels and try to roll down without plopping if you can. Also back crunch, which to me is always good, especially if I'm feeling tight and stiff. All those little pops and cracks to me mean that movement is breaking it up. Okay, so remember neutral pelvis, pubic bone and hip bones on the same horizontal plane now that we're laying down. And you should have space between your lower back and the mat. Why? Because your spine, when it's neutral, is curved in, right? Like you have a natural arch of your lower back. Pushing your back down is not a neutral spine, and you can see actually how it affected my upper back. So we want neutral. You've probably been to some shitty classes that have told you you have to keep your back down to protect your lower back. That's true to an extent, but the way shoving your lower back into the floor is not the fucking way to do that. Okay, so pelvic tilts and pelvic curls, these are a pretty important part of any warm-up in Pilates. You would be amazed at how much just getting this part right allows you to do the more challenging exercises much more effectively. How do you know they're effective? They fucking suck, but you can do them. It's when I can't feel my abdominals working or I can't get into a position that I know that my logic is that it's being protective. So you can get hands-on with your pelvis. After 20 years of doing Pilates, I still do this because I'm mostly a weightlifter. Okay, so inhale, think about that same inhale down through the back of the throat, down the spine, into the pelvic floor. And as you exhale, just think about, again, from the pelvic floor, kind of pulling up into the pelvic floor and trying to sink your navel down into the spine. And your pelvis will tuck back slightly, but not shoving back. Inhale, coming back to neutral, staying down the spine. Exhale, from the pelvic floor, think about trying to pull up and in. And if you're very tight in your lower back or new to this, you might not move that much. And inhale, I was gonna say, I should admit, I already did Pilates before this, which makes me a lot more mobile than I would be otherwise. Usually, I keep it pretty real with you guys, but I was tight as fuck. All right, inhale and exhale. So I'm trying to think about pulling this downward. Lightly squeezing the ball can help facilitate that as well. And then inhale back to neutral, and then we'll go into the pelvic curl. Exhale. This is usually where people start to half-ass their breathing by not doing it. So at the top, there's a punctuation. You're in full hip extension, posterior tilt to the pelvis, ribs are down, shoulders are open. Inhale at the top, and then exhale. Lead with the sternum and roll down, one vertebra at a time. Trying to visualize imprinting each individual bone onto the mat for the next. Coming back to neutral, pause on the inhale, and exhale. So I'm trying to keep that posterior tilt throughout. So in other words, I'm not going to go to the point where I'm extended. You see how my abdomen also stuck out? I'm in an anterior tilt now. And exhale, lower down. If you feel, well, see what you feel. Do you feel more weighted on one side? Can you feel the imprint more on one side of your body than the other? If so, then try to bias your weight to the other side. And exhale. So I feel like I'm really crooked now that I'm biasing to my left, but actually it's making me more even. And one last time. Finding that posterior tilt. And exhale. Rolling down. Okay, take the ball out for a moment, separate your feet about mat width, and let your legs, with control, go to one direction. Arms are up to a T-ish. With control, move to the other side. So I want you to see, actually my obnoxiously pink shirt, let's call it, is helping you see. On this side I'm tighter, so it wants to pull my ribs up, which means that I'm not going to go as far as I go to the left. And then, or to the right. Yeah, you know what I mean. Switch. So I can feel how hiked up I am on this side, which is also why I was crooked in my pelvic curl. You just try to notice it. You're not diagnosing like, oh my God, my left side is all fucked up. It's always going to be fucked up because you're a human being who moves and, well, hopefully sits funny and all that shit. But it's just noticing it and trying to improve upon it. That's my philosophy on all this shit. All right, coming back to center. If you have the circle, you can use it. If you don't have the circle but you have the ball, you can use that instead. If you don't have either, I believe in you. Okay. So one leg at a time, we'll come up into tabletop position. That's 90 degrees at the hip and the knee. And then the circle will go in between the thighs. So what I want you to watch out for is bringing your feet together like a diamond shape, because what you're doing is taking tension off the fucking circle. So defeating the purpose. We're trying to keep the legs in as much as possible, but as it sucks. And if you're like, why does it suck so much? Don't worry about it, that's Pilates. You're doing it right. So arms are out to a T and active. Fingers are long, and you're rolling your shoulders back to press your shoulder blades into the floor. We're gonna inhale, and from your mid-back, rotate over to one side. So I'm starting to the left. Exhale, back to center. So as you rotate, I want you to keep both sides of your waist the same length. Inhale and rotate. So you can imagine that your butt is up against a wall, and you're sliding cheeks basically from side to side. Inhale, squeeze the circle as you come back. So like I said, I'm tighter on my left, I can feel it today. So When I go to the right, that's when I'm most likely to compensate. So that's the side I'm really going to make sure not to go as far. And when you're done, you can take the circle out, lower your feet down. And let's do some hamstring work. And we'll go without the props. So feet parallel, fist distance apart. You're basically, well, you're in the pelvic curl position that we just did a second ago. We're just about to make it a lot worse. So arms by your sides. Inhale. And just like the pelvic curl, you exhale, starting from the pelvic floor. Exhale, roll up into that pelvic curl position. So make sure that your knees don't bow out to the side. It helps to press into the balls of the feet. Make sure you're maintaining a posterior tilt of your pelvis. So if you feel your lower back, that's not a posterior tilt. Same goes if you're feeling a ton of hamstring, though that's what we're targeting. So we're going to start by bringing the right leg into tabletop position and try not to shift. So make sure that that right hip isn't sinking down. Stay in the ball of the big toe on the left side. Extend that right leg up to the ceiling. Lower the leg so it's in line with the left. Flex, kick up. Inhale, lower. Flex, kick up. Pelvic lumbar stability again. Down. Flex, kick up. Point lower. Flex, kick up. One more time. Try to reach the wall in front of you. Flex, kick up. Point. Hold it there. Press into the ball of the big toe. Pulse for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bend the knee. Lower down. Toe, ball, heel. Reestablish any height you may have lost in your hips. And then left leg comes up into tabletop. Hold it there. Make sure you're not dropping your hips. Stay in the ball of the big toe on the right side now. Extend that left leg up to the ceiling. If you need to keep your knees slightly bent because of tight hamstrings, that's fine. Lower down, flex, kick up. Point lower, try to reach the wall in front of you, flex, kick up. Point lower, flex, kick up. Last time, point lower, flex, kick up. Hold it here, point, and pulse for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bend, replace, toe, ball, heel. Reestablish any height you may have lost, and exhale, roll down, 1 vertebra at a time. So then, grab the circle again, and we're going to place it between the thighs again. We're going to keep the feet down. So, one reason why Pilates focuses so much on your adductors or inner thighs is because, you can take the circle out while I'm talking, your adductors are innervated in your pelvic floor, meaning that they are a way that you can access the pelvic floor. And people only think pelvic floor matters if you've had a baby or some shit like that and you're peeing your pants. That is bullshit. Having pelvic floor issues, first of all, is really common for men and women and can cause hip pain, lower back pain, digestive issues, all sorts of stuff like that. And a lot of sexual dysfunction as well, which I know I may have gotten you guys' attention now, but in both men and women. So there are pelvic floor PTs. If you have any suspicion that maybe you need someone like that, I know someone amazing, please hit me up. All right, let's learn about the pelvic floor and stop being total babies when everyone talks about peeing and sex and all that shit, because it's real life, people. Also, peeing and pooping is hilarious. So, circle goes in between the thighs, ideally keeping the feet about 6 bone distance apart. I'm gonna be real with you guys, this circle is really old, it's like 10 years old, but it's my favorite one. It's from Balance Body. You can also get these on Amazon, sorry, I know. Cheaper than this one, but Balance Body is, in my opinion, the best company. All right, so interlace your fingers behind the back of your head, thumbs at the base of the skull, and elbows visible in the corners of the eyes. Neutral pelvis, neutral spine. Inhale and exhale, nod your chin, and lift head, neck, and chest. So now we're doing the inverse of the pelvic curl. We're keeping the pelvis still and moving the spine. Inhale, deepen, so your abdomen shouldn't puff up, and you shouldn't see your pubic bone lift up. And then exhale, lower down. But as you lift, inhale, make sure you're not relaxed at the bottom, still working here. Exhale, nod the chin, and roll up. And inhale, deepen. You might notice that your lower back is close to pressing against the floor. It's because we're not in neutral spine anymore. We lifted the head, neck, and chest, so series of joints, it will all round. But your pelvis is what we're trying to stabilize here. Inhale, and exhale, nod the chin. Inhale, deepen, and exhale, lower down. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, deepen. Exhale, lower down. Remember, this is just a different phase. We're not relaxing. We're actually trying to get the abdomen tighter and tighter, knitting the ribs together. Inhale, and exhale, nod your chin, and roll it up. Just felt myself really gripping in my hip flexors and actively trying to relax them. Inhale, deepen, hold it there. Make sure that tailbone is down, and pulse the circle for 5, 4. Even if you don't have a circle, you can just pantomime it. Hold it in. Sucks. Pulse the chest for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and roll down. Take the circle out. Just feels nice to stretch. Right? What did I just say about stretching? I'm a liar. But, stretching can be good. It's when you think it's gonna solve all your fucking problems. That's when I would say no. Okay, so we're gonna use the circle, you can use the ball. You can also, particularly if you tend to be top heavy, either with big bust, or that's just where you tend to hold your weight, this movement can be really challenging. Believe it or not, holding a little bit of a weight can help because it's a counterweight for you. In fact, the circle can help a lot with that too. So I am definitely pear-shaped, if we're gonna name me after a fucking fruit, but it is to my advantage in this movement because my legs anchor me to the floor. So your legs will be extended and your pelvis is neutral, and it kind of has to be in this position unless you're arching. So just make sure the surface of the pelvis is flat. Heels of the hand go onto the circle. If you're using a weight, I recommend bent elbows, and don't reach overhead with the weight. You're just gonna start here. So with the circle or the ball or nothing, you'll reach back and only go to the point where your ribs don't pop up, because ribs popping up, that's back extension. And we'll inhale, lift head, neck, and chest, and then exhale, coming up into a C curve. So the style of Pilates I do, your shoulders are stacked over your hips, so we're not leaning forward here. We like stacked joints in massive Pilates. And exhale, you're not leaning back, right? So the circle, weight, whatever, should stay on that same line, not tilting back, because I'm rolling down through my lower back, trying to get my lumbar spine to touch. Notice what your legs are doing. If they're being fucking weird, try to keep them neutral. I think about trying to pull my ankle bones together. Inhale, head, neck, and chest. Exhale. Here you also want to think about pressing your hamstrings into the ground versus flexing your quads. You might think, isn't that the same fucking thing? No. It's trying to not tense up your quads, which assist in hip flexion. So basically honorary hip flexors. Inhale, try to get into a posterior tilt here without letting your legs splay open. Coming up into a C curve. Inhale, light leg squeeze on the circle. Exhale, rounding down. Coming back. Last time. Inhale and exhale. Coming up into that C curve. Use your circle or whatever the fuck, and get a little stretch. See, stretching can be nice. Okay, so you can set that circle off to the side. It will be back, and we're gonna do basically a reverse plank. So your legs are extended out on the mat the same way you just had them. Again, I want you to pay attention to whether or not your ankles roll out. Ideally, your fingers will be facing in towards your hips. This can be a lot on the wrist, so you can turn out to the side if you need to, and even go wider. And another way to modify it is to keep your feet flat on the floor. You'll see. I would say, give it a shot because it sucks, but at least you see it coming. So flex those triceps, press into the heels of the hands, roll your shoulders open, inhale, prepare. Exhale, press down into the ground and try to get your toes to touch the floor. Don't let your head hang. Hinge at the hips on the inhale. Inhale down. Exhale. Inhale down. 2 more. Really get into those triceps. Notice if your feet are rolling out, don't let them. Hold it here. And coming down all the way. Go ahead and roll the wrists. Shake it out. All right, we're gonna do rolling like a ball. This is really helpful to have the circle for. If you don't have it, that's fine. You're gonna be in a little ball shape. I wanna do it with a circle because I like it better with a circle, but I'm assuming most people don't have one, so I'll suck it up. We want to hold on towards the ankles as much as possible. We're not trying to round the upper spine. You see a theme here? We're trying to be in a C curve, elongated all the way through the spine. So if you have to hold on here or here or here, that's fine. Just don't let the legs kick around. Keep those knees together. And we will inhale, roll. So versus throwing yourself back, the same thing we were doing before where you're trying to roll through your tailbone sacrum, it's hard to do when you're talking. So I'm trying to initiate by pulling my lower abs down onto the floor. Shut the fuck up. And rest. Bring the soles of your feet together, get a little stretch. Such a fucking liar. Okay, we're gonna do an exercise called the rollover. Once upon a time, I was awesome at this. And then all of a sudden, coinciding with a injury in my neck, I just can't do it as well as I used to, which is a huge bummer. The injury had nothing to do with lifting. Before everyone just seems to get so excited about that. Like, I knew lifting was bad for you. No, fuck that. Lifting is why I'm able to do what I can do. So I'm going to attempt to do the full way. If it bugs you in your body, your neck, your hips, anything like that, just trust your judgment. You don't have to do it the full way. You can always modify, and that goes for anything. It is, however, a really good way to open up the lower back and the hamstrings. Also a ton of tricep work. Okay, so one leg at a time into tabletop. I'm gonna go step by step by step. So we're probably gonna do 4 times, doing the full rollover exercise on the 4th time. One more thing, try not to don't turn your head while you're up on your shoulders and your legs are back here. Not good for your neck. So you can watch, pause, and then go do it yourself or whatever the fuck. So one leg at a time into tabletop, which your lower back also appreciates. You're gonna extend your legs out on a diagonal, inhale up to 90, and roll back, and then you're just gonna roll down. And we're trying to articulate through the spine, also a theme. When I lifted my head there, I lifted it off the ground, or when I rolled it. Okay, so then lower to 45, inhale up to 90. This time, you're gonna dorsiflex your ankles. Try not to put too much into the toes, and then roll down. Trying to keep my legs as close to my face as I can. And if that's not very far, that's fine. Point lower, adding on, inhale up to 90. And then you'll flex the feet, or excuse me, the ankles, and then separate your feet to about shoulder width. And then roll down. And then we're gonna do the full rollover. The full rollover is, spoiler alert, you're gonna try to tap your toes onto the floor, lift, and then roll down. So this is the part that my body just doesn't like anymore. So I might do it, I might not. On a good day, I can do it. On a day where I'm a slowly decaying corpse, just like you know, it doesn't work out as well. So extend those legs to 45, inhale up to 90, flex, open, tap, hey, and roll down. interrupted. Inhale. Also, I'm pretty stoked that my neck is feeling good today. Flex, open, tap. Yay! In fairness, I usually do Pilates at 5 a.m. and pretty much every part of your body's like, fuck you at that hour, no matter how often you do it. Bend to 90. If you've worked with me before, one thing that you've probably heard, you can do that 90-90 again, is meet your body where it's at. And if you've worked with me before and we're doing the program, or I've told you what we're going to work on, and then I do a total 180, you know it's because you have to meet your body where it's at. So if you're determined to do the rollover and tap your toes and your body really, really doesn't want it and you force it, that is not wise. Why some days it happens that way? I don't know. Is it a bummer to me? Yeah, of course. I'm almost 38 years old and I'm acquiring injuries and stiffness as I go. I don't want to, but crying about not being able to do what I could do when I was 20, like, get over it. It's gonna happen. You have to just meet your body where it's at on that particular day. And as soon as you chill the fuck out on it like that and stop trying to make demands on it, you will actually be a lot stronger and happier and feel a lot less shitty. Imagine that. Okay, so it's calling the shots whether you fucking like it or not. So you can cry about it or you can just roll with it and do the best you can. So ball, if you have it, will go in between the ankles. And we're gonna be in a banana shape. So our bottom arm is extended, head on the bicep, and banana shape meaning that your legs come towards the front corner of the mat with toes pointed, squeezing lightly the ankle bone, trying to squeeze the ankle bones together through the ball. So notice that if I let my waist drop into the floor, notice how one leg is now shorter than the other, right? My hips aren't stacked here. So if I create that little space, the house for the mouse, as classical Pilates calls it, very technical, then all of a sudden you see how my hips are affected. They're now the same length, and that's very important. You're gonna be less stable here, but that's also the fucking point. So adductors here, you can use a hand on the floor if that helps you. Otherwise, your hand will be here on your hip. So inhale to prepare, exhale, lift from the waist. So hold it here for a second. I want you to feel if you rolled back onto your buttock or if your hips kind of rolled forward. We want to keep them directly straight. If you are, you can lower your legs. If you feel a lot of pain like on the bone there, that's normal, that's a structural thing. We want to avoid that. If you can roll up the mat and alleviate it, great. Otherwise, I would say roll back onto that buttock and just do the best you can on an angle, kind of like, literally like this, trying to just stay off of that bone. Because you don't want to aggravate your bone, and pain will inhibit muscle activation anyway. All right, so inhale, exhale, lift. And as you lift the legs, you're also going to feel that your waist drop to the floor. Yeah, that's where you're moving from, so no big deal. Last one. And then go ahead and grab the ball. And bring your bottom leg at a 90-degree angle. So the shin is in line with the front of the mat and the thigh is parallel to the top of the mat. So top leg extends out. Again, create the house for the mouse. And you are going to rotate your bottom leg in. So again, I want you to watch out for rolling forward or rolling back as much as possible and try to keep those hip stacked as much as possible. So if you've heard that Pilates, everything is core, you're not wrong. You're gonna feel this a lot in your glutes, hopefully, but your core is trying to maintain pelvic lumbar stability, meaning trying to keep you in this position. It's inherently unstable, so try to invite your core to the party is what I'm trying to say, and internally rotate that foot. So if you look down at the foot, notice if you're doing weird shit with your feet, I want you to try to imagine that your foot is up against the wall. Ooh, it's already lit up. That's good. I want you to imagine your foot is up against the wall and internally rotate just to the point. Ooh, it's spicy. Internally rotate just to the point where you can keep your foot against an imaginary flat surface. All right, I'm gonna stop being a little bitch. Okay, so we're gonna lower down and lift. So notice I'm going down and then just coming up to hip height. So I'm not swinging my leg around. And you know, that's a legitimate glute exercise. I don't personally subscribe to it because I'm a Pilates form Nazi, but, and I plan to stay that way. But what we're trying to do is work this lateral glute, your glute med. So visualize stretching it and then lifting that leg from that point. Also, I suck at counting, so whatever. Hold it here. And now bring the leg forward. Watch out for losing stability. Tap down, lift up, and reach straight back. Keep that foot against that imaginary wall. Tap down, lift up, and straight back. If I keep my foot out of it, my range of motion is quite small in my internal rotation. That's to be expected. And that's, I don't know enough about yoga. I'm very critical of yoga as it's done in the very whitewashed bullshit way, corporate way. All the shit is whitewashed. And that's just my general understanding of it. But whereas flexibility seems to be applauded, and it's lit up in there. In Pilates, you have to earn it. It's like, how far can you go if you stay in this specific alignment? So you see some master Pilates people doing some crazy hard shit. And back, and then bring it forward. Woo! And then you tap for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then bring that leg. I don't want to do it. Up and down. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Stack the hips. 2 and 1. Ooh, it's mad. I do want to point out that this is my hip that has issues. So sending it to therapy, no, just kidding. But I've always had piriformis issues. Piriformis, a deep, deep muscle in your glute, and it creates sciatic issues, low back stuff, and it can be hard to get this glute active. And so, like I said, I was here lifting heavy shit. Go ahead and push yourself up, switch sides. And for a lot of that series that we just did, I felt it in my lateral hip, my TFL is what it's called, tensor fascial latae, which sounds delicious. But it is a abductor of your hip, which your gluteus medius is as well, your glute muscles are. What I noticed though is because that side, or this spot was lit up, that my glute is actually kind of sleepy, is how the way I say it. It's not firing. It started to towards the end, but most of the discomfort was in my TFL. So I'm probably gonna do some more glute stuff after we finish this. And again, I'm just noticing it. And I've noticed it in the past because, and that's why I'm aware of it. It doesn't mean I'm gonna fucking die. It does mean that it's probably an issue I should address or pay attention to next time I squat or deadlift. Okay, so the ball is gonna go in between the ankle bones, which you know me, leg day. So house for the mouse, feet towards that front corner, bottom arm is extended, palm up, head on the bicep, and I can already feel myself wanting to roll on this side. Again, because my right hip is not very stable. But I'm gonna do the best I can. Okay, so inhale, prepare, exhale, and lift. So I feel myself wanting to roll this way, which is pretty consistent with what everything else I was feeling, is that my left side was trying to crowd this way. And I can't go very far on this side without compensating with, feels like my hip flexor on the left, hip flexor because I'm being pulled this way. You'll get what I'm saying soon enough. And I really feel my TFL a lot on my bottom side. And again, I'm just noticing it. I feel like I don't understand any of this shit. Good. Keep fucking watching and learn so that you can troubleshoot your own body and not be at the mercy of doctors who don't give a fuck about you. Sorry, it's true. There's some who are good, just like trainers. Most are shit. Last one. Man, I needed it. Okay, so Glutes on this side. If your bottom glute is still screaming at you, that's normal because your gluteus medius is also a stabilizer. So go ahead and hover that top foot up, internally rotate, imagine that foot is up against the wall, and you'll tap down, lift up, tap down, lift up. Already it feels just easier on this side, which is fine. I mean, I'm not gonna like fix my right hip, just for whatever reason, it's just really tight today. 3 more. I'm sure I did 400 on the other side, but whatever. Last one, hold it here, and then forward, down, up, and back. Pay attention to that bottom leg. Try to keep it as still as possible. It's gonna move a little bit because your pelvis is moving. Down, up, and back. So you're thinking about drawing like a half a rectangle. Forward, down, up, and back. So this I'm feeling in the right place, or the intended place, I should say. Down, up, and back, and 3, down, up, and back. Stabilize. 2, down, up, and back. Oh yeah, it's lit up. Down, up, and back. Bring it forward, and then tap for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I don't want to do it. Clamshell, open and close. So I'm not externally rotating, I'm not moving my back. I'm keeping those hips stacked. House for the mouse. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Whew. Oh, it's pissed. In a good way with me. Also, since I was talking my ass off, literally, on the other side, and that means I wasn't as focused on trying to get into the glute med. Usually if I'm, warming up or training by myself, I will notice that and be able to adjust my form more appropriately because I'm focused on it. So this isn't my workout here. I'm just trying to help. Okay, so we're gonna do a little back extension. We're actually gonna do 2 back extension exercises. Back extension, hopefully for obvious reasons, but in Pilates, the back extension is focused on your upper back. So most people's lumbar spine already has excessive extension or arching as it is. So again, we're trying to get pelvic lumbar stability and trying to lift your thoracic spine. Although your lumbar spine will be affected by it, we actually want to try to stabilize it as much as possible. So if you feel tension in your lower back, you're going too far. You're going too far. So first one is double leg kick. One of my personal favorites. I'm not gonna lie. Both of these are my personal favorites, and you're probably never gonna see ones I hate because I suck at them. It's not that I just don't do them, but I will not demonstrate them well. I'd be like, what the fuck is going on over there? Okay, so you're gonna interlace your fingers first. You're gonna move them in a second, but I want you to prop your chin, or excuse me, your head up a little bit. I found that this helps me get into the movement without aggravating or pushing onto my neck. So you'll bend the knees, legs are all the way together, and I want you to push your pubic bone down into the floor. So if your face was just down here to begin with, it'd be really easy to push your face down too. That's how I think about it anyway. Okay, so then, side of the face on the mat. If you have neck discomfort here, I would just keep your hands there or roll up the mat to prop your head up a little bit. You're going to interlace your fingers behind your back and set your elbows and upper arms on the floor. And then you're going to do that same thing, pressing your pubic bone down into the mat and hamstrings. Little taps. 3, 2, 1. Extend your legs to a hover. Extend your arms, thumbs to bum. Inhale, lifting the chest, and then you'll bend the knees, fold the hands, turn to the other cheek, press into the pubic bone, so knees are up. Pulse 3, 2, 1. Extend, extend. And other side, turn the cheek. So your whole body shouldn't be shifting. That means to me that you're not active, so pubic bone down. Thumbs to bum, extend. Other side. thumbs to the bottom, extend, ooh, hammies. Lower the feet, bring the arms around, press your forearms, and sit back into rest position. So rest position is to basically mitigate any lower back discomfort from extension that we just did. It's like I said, it was extending a little bit. Most people are sensitized to extension, so after every back extension exercise in Pilates, we do rest position, in case you give a shit. So, then come back down onto your abdomen. This one also kind of tricky to get into, and I was feeling my knee a lot when I just did that, which means to me that my quad is just really tight on my right side, so this should be funny. You reach back for my right foot first, and then my left foot. So try not to let your knees push out to the side. We want that same alignment. So again, pubic bone presses down into the floor. You're using your feet to help stretch your pecs. Inhale, imagine there's a marble under your nose, roll that marble away. Press your feet into your hands without letting your legs splay open. Exhale, abdomen, sternum, nose back to the mat. Inhale, roll that marble away. Press your feet into your hands. Make sure you're letting your elbows just extend. Pubic bone into the mat. And one more time. And release the feet, forearms down. And again, press yourself back into rest position. That would have been really fucking bad about an hour ago. Good job, quads. And this is why I do it. It's like mobility work gives me an opportunity to check in with my body and fix shit or notice shit before it becomes a problem. That's why I like it. Okay, so then hands are under your shoulders. You'll extend one leg back and then the other. Last little bit. You're going to hover your left leg up again, just like how we started with the toe pointed, I know, out of the frame. And this time you're going to tuck your knee to your nose and then lift that leg up behind you, sitting your weight back into that right heel for arabesque. So knee to nose, reach up, try not to rotate here, knee to nose, reaching up, stay back there, lower that left foot down, lower back into the plank, and then right leg hovers up, toe pointed, tuck that knee to nose, extending up, knee to nose, extending up, and nose to knee. Knee to nose, so much tighter on this side, extending up, arabesque, feel like myself leaning, whatever. Right toes down, stay there, pedal out your feet. And then walk your hands in to your feet and roll up. Whew. We're gonna finish the way we started with a roll down. Hopefully noticing a change in, man, I'm out of breath after that shit. I gotta do something about that, but fuck it. All right, so feet parallel, fist distance apart, find that alignment, stack the joints, inhale, exhale on the chin. Hopefully you have more awareness, yeah, more mobility. Still feel tight on my right side, but like I said, I'm not gonna fucking cure anything today. There's nothing to cure anyway. It's just, you know, I made my body squat really fucking heavy. Exhale, rolling up. It's such a good sport, which is another reason why you shouldn't bash your body. In all likelihood, you're not very good to it, and it does a lot for you. So, meet your body where it's at. Today, obviously, talked my ass off a lot more than I will in the future, but those concepts all need to be reviewed. So I'm marking this video as number one, meaning that it's one that you can refer back to with some regularity. to review this shit because I don't want to do it every single time. And even if you have no interest in Pilates, that's fine. But knowing about breathing and alignment and stability, all that shit, just knowing about this stuff will help you a ton. Not only avoid injury, dumb injury, you know, just like moving like shit, and also hopefully just make you stronger. My name is Karis, Sunday Pilates. Thank you for watching.